Gotta get your caffeine. All right. We're back with another film room. Jason Kidd's been blowing up my email address. He's been texting me, won't leave me alone. He's been saying, Nick, where are you? I need some more tips, some more gems. So here we are. Sorry I haven't done the film rooms as of lately. Been really working on getting a Kobe video out, so hopefully that'll be out in the next few days. But once again, Jason Kidd almost gives Mavs fans a heart attacks, and we won both of these games. We're going to go over the Toronto Raptors game and the Brooklyn Nets game, largely the fourth quarter. I mean, that's when games are won and lost, right? And I want to say a few things before we start, and that is, you know, for those of you who have played sports, there's a lot of times when, you know, someone would mess up the last play of the game. I've been there myself. You miss the last shot, or you have a turnover late, what have you, and people kind of say, you know, well, there were 1,000 plays before that, right? There were 1,000 little plays, or 1,000 plays within a play, you know, 100 plays before that, whatever it is, right? Where people missed up or made a mistake as well. And so, like, to just say that it all came down to that one play isn't fair. That is half true. It's also not half true. As the game evolves and develops throughout, let's just say, a singular game, right? Not a series or anything like that. The situational awareness must adapt. The understanding of what is on the line, what needs to be done, what the other team has been trying to do to you for 3 quarters or for the most of part of the game until you get towards the nut cutting time, as they say. You know, you as a player need to be aware of that. And so, while yes, it's true, technically a game does not come down to 1 or 2 plays. Kind of on the flip side, it also does. And I know that's kind of speaking out of both sides of my mouth, but, you know, we're going to take a look at these 2 games, right? And we're going to take a look at the Toronto game, which, as you can see here, let me get it adjusted. It's my fault. And so as we can see here, right, Dallas has a double-digit lead going into the fourth quarter against Toronto. So, and then we're going to look at the Brooklyn game as well, where it was essentially tied. I think Dallas was actually down by 1. So we're looking at 2 different scenarios here, and Dallas almost loses both of them. We're going to look at 2 different scenarios here in the fourth quarter, and we're going to kind of see what happens. And, you know, a lot of people like Jason Kidd as a coach. I think that in spots he is very weak or limited. That's my opinion. I think he is more of an overarching trends coach. I said that in some of my previous videos. I think he's a styles coach. He's a lineup and matchup coach, which is a big part of basketball. But again, in these 2 fourth quarters, I think we're going to see where we really are missing someone like a Carlisle. And I will sort of go over the couple plays or the couple scenarios why I think that. Now, Dallas just got away with the victory against Brooklyn. I probably will not go too much into that game on the game film, so I'll break it down real quick. Essentially, you had a Dallas was down 1, I believe, going into the fourth quarter. Yes, what I have here on my notes. You know, Dallas, I think, jumped out to a double-digit lead early in the fourth, and they kind of made some bonehead mistakes. So I'm not really going to break that game down too much. Dorian Finney-Smith had a couple really bad plays. He had a really bad turnover, I think with like 3 minutes or something to go. It was a really bad one. And again, it was a hesitation on his part because, you know, Finney-Smith does not really have the ball in his hands a lot. And so in a crunch time situation where he was kind of bringing the ball up the floor and he wanted to get rid of it, he made a bad pass that led to a turnover. He also had a really bad foul on Kevin Durant. Durant was shooting about where this number 32 is on Toronto, and he fouled him. So he made some really bonehead mistakes. They're kind of things that I don't really expect him to make those mistakes again, if that makes sense. Things that I think are easily fixed and are not necessarily something because of what kid told him or because they were running some kind of play and he didn't know what to do. He just made some bad mistakes. I don't expect him to do that, much more going forward. Of course, everyone makes mistakes, but I can't really critique those things other than he knows it was a bad play. We can see what happened. But my main point in the Brooklyn game, and we're kind of gonna do the same thing here in the Toronto game. First of all, the Mavs were horrible on their rotations on the fourth quarter, defensive rotations. I mean, I think there was one play where Luka expected someone to rotate and they didn't, and a guy literally had time to catch the ball, make a campfire, cook some s'mores, and then shoot the three and make it. And again, things like that, I think over the course of a season, things like that will correct themselves. Guys will begin to understand what the other guy is thinking, and they will know what to do. But our defensive rotation in the fourth quarter against Brooklyn was not very good at times. I think that will get better as the season goes on. I'm on record saying I think this is a good defensive team, so I'm not too worried about that. What was the other thing here? Late rotations. Dorian Finney-Smith had the bad turnover and the bad foul on KD. Again, KD missed one of those free throws. We got lucky with that. But again, in the fourth quarter, when we needed some buckets, Kid had nothing to draw up. Kid had nothing to offer. Kid had no creativity. I'm going to keep saying, even though creativity isn't really the right word, because you can still run a simple offense that's not very creative, but it creates opportunities for guys. But I'm going to just keep saying creativity because, again, he just ran the same old ISO or pick and roll with Luka every single time in the fourth quarter, just about, in crunch time especially. And again, defenses are going to start queuing up on you when you run the same thing 5, 10, 15 times in a row. They're going to start adjusting. They're going to start picking up on what you're doing, and whether it be instincts or adapting or reacting to what they've seen the last 2 or 3 times down the floor. The NBA is too many athletes. They're too athletic. Guys are smart. Especially coaches, if they're watching what you're doing, they will start to break you down. They will start to pick up on your tendencies, and you will find yourself stuck. And a lot of times they ask Luka to do too much. Just because he is Luka, right, doesn't mean the ball has to be in his hands 24/7. I go back, I said this in the last video, Carlisle a lot of times used Dirk to get other guys open. He purposely got Dirk the ball in spots, knowing a double would come, knowing that the defense was going to do XYZ when Dirk would start hitting jumpers or scoring, that therefore then everyone else knew what they were supposed to do and they knew how to make the defense pay. I don't see that a whole lot with Luka. I'm not saying it's Luka's fault. Luka makes great passes out of the double team and things like that, but there seems to be no setting up of that second look once the defense collapses on Luka. It's just guys kind of standing around and waiting for the ball to come to them. You're not making a defense think. That's probably how I should put it. Kid is not making the defense think at all. At all. They are not having to think. They are not having to worry about a second and third option. Essentially, what they know is that here comes Luka. He's going to do an ISO or a pick and roll. And mainly on the pick and roll, we're going to see what Toronto did against it and how Kid didn't react or do anything different that got us in trouble late in the fourth. And he is not making the defense think. That he's not keeping them honest at all. And so I wanted to kind of get that out of the way with the Brooklyn game. I thought they asked Luka to do way too much in the final few minutes, to the point of not necessarily that Luka can't do it, but you are kind of putting all of your eggs in one basket. And if the defense starts to crack down on Luka, what do you do now? Because they will eventually crack down on Luka. They will have no choice. And especially come playoff time, teams are going to have their entire defense revolve around stopping Luka, slowing down Luka, making him work, picking him up full court. I've seen that a lot this year already. Teams decide that, well, if you're going to make Luka beat us, we are going to put pressure on him the entire game. We are going to make him work. We are going to pick him up full court. We are going to shade or double team out of the pick and roll. We're going to let your guys run free because you have not shown us yet that you cannot draw up any creativity for these other players. We don't really have to think about that. It's really just a matter of rotating and recovering once Luka dishes the ball away. And so, especially in a playoff series, you're going to have whole teams draw up designs and schemes for Luka. And if you do not have something else in your back pocket, if you do not have another play set up your sleeve, we are going to struggle in the playoffs. And a lot of this, I think, last year, it really felt like we had to will our way to every win in the playoffs. Maybe the Utah game, we kind of hit a little spark of energy there and the games kind of flowed. But especially after that, it really felt like we were having to will our way to every win. And when you have to win 4 playoff series to win a title, that becomes very grueling, very tiring, not just physically, but mentally, knowing that, if this doesn't work, we're done. We're doomed, right? And so we're going to take a look at the Toronto game here. I want to start off by saying, again, Brooklyn game is a little different. I think it was obvious what we were lacking. I kind of went over it. And it was essentially we were down by 1. It was a tie game heading into the 4th. So, getting the victory, even though we got up by double digits and then we only won by 2, that's a little bit of a different scenario as compared to Mavs in this game are going to get up by, I think, like 15. And Toronto starts to make you do something other than have Luka beat you. And Kid did nothing. I pop into the Slightly Biased chat. Shout out Slightly Biased if you ever see this. I pop into his chat or his channel every so often. He's another big Mavs fan. And people I think are giving Kid way too much credit. I don't know why. It's simply because he got us to the Western Conference Finals last year, which is great. Don't get me wrong. But what has Kid done? Like, what has Kid shown you to make you say, like, oh, well, Kid won us this game or Kid won us that game? If I remember correctly, last year, a lot of us were complaining because Kid wouldn't call timeouts at the right times. He wasn't adjusting. Again, no creativity from Kid, as far as I could tell. And so a lot of people are riding high on Jason Kidd, and I don't really understand it. I'm honestly, I just don't think Kidd is the best basketball coach. X's and O's, if that makes sense. I think as a lot of times as a player, when you, especially great players like Kidd was, so much of what you do is just instinctual, right? It's so much of what you do is just because you played for such a long time and as a kid and you pick the game up faster than everybody and, you kind of just do, right, to become a good player. I think this is one of the knocks on Magic Johnson when he became a coach is that he would just expect guys, Magic Johnson would just be like, just do this, just do it. And it's like, as a coach, that can't be your message. That's not a strategy. That's not a implementation of anything. You're just kind of hoping players are as good as you were, which is never going to be the case for the most part with kids like Magic and Kidd or with players like Magic and Kidd. That's just not going to be how it works. Like, you have to get guys in spots. You have to have things drawn up and let players know this is what we're looking for. This is the wrinkle. This is the second and third option. This is what I expect the defense to do, and then this is what we're going to do to counteract that. And while I think Kidd is a good players coach, I think Kidd, I think he's probably good at sort of the Phil Jackson approach. I think he kind of tells players like what is the style we're trying to run and things like that. I'm not sure if he's so much good at when somebody does something to Luka or the Mavs. I don't think he has a good answer for things. He doesn't seem to have, like with me, for instance, right? Like I used to coach first grade kids, junior high kids, right? And understanding that at that level of the game, you're almost never going to have the athletes that other well-established teams are, right? Especially for the teams I was coaching. You need to have plays ready for them at all times. If they start to press you full court, you need to be able to tell your guys, remember what we ran in practice, this is what we're going to do now. And, a lot of times we would beat much better teams simply because I'm putting them in spots, the best spots possible to A, not make a mistake, but B, to score or to play good defense in which they're not really having to constantly think about these things. Like, yes, good players will always be thinking and adapting, yes. But, not everybody, again, is a Jason Kidd or a Magic Johnson, right? So you have to put guys in spots where they just have to play. They just have to react on their instincts, being good athletes that they are and good NBA players, playing to their strengths. Like one guy's a shooter, one guy's a slasher. You have to put them in certain spots to let them do what they do well, right? And Kidd doesn't ever seem to do that. And so to start this Toronto game, so first of all, we didn't start McGee this game, and we got absolutely crushed on the boards, specifically the offensive boards, where I know McGee has been struggling a little bit, but one of the main reason we got him is for rebounding, and I think he definitely showed his value or what he can bring to the table in this game when he didn't play. I think we saw where he brings value and where we missed him. One thing, although that being said, one thing he does a lot lately, or that I saw the last few games that I don't like, is he's leaking out way too early. There's a couple times in the Brooklyn game, he started the Brooklyn game, but there were a few times in the Brooklyn game where he leaked out way too early, and Brooklyn ended up getting the offensive board. But I think people need to relax on McGee. McGee will be fine. I think also McGee is a playoff type player in terms of mismatches. If let's just say we play Minnesota, right? McGee would be invaluable in that series if we can just put him on Gobert. Say you get 6 fouls, your only job is to just out rebound Gobert. That's all we need you to do. He would be invaluable in a series like that. So again, he is a matchup player, I think, and so I think during the regular season, McGee does not translate well from a game-to-game situation in the regular season, especially with such a guard-heavy league that we have now. But in the playoffs, I think there will be a game or two where I'm not going to say he's going to win it for us, but he will be one of the big keys and one of the big differences as to why we win a game or two, or maybe even a series, depending on the matchup he can get. Again, just imagine, I think Rudy Gobert in Minnesota is probably the best example I can give, but imagine if all you have to tell McGee, all you have to tell him in a series like that is just rebound the ball on Gobert. That's all we need you to really focus on, right? And you think about how much Gobert, even though Gobert, I know people hate on Gobert, and he's not worth what he got from Minnesota, but think about, but McGee did kill us on the Utah series. I mean, he was getting board after board after board, and he was definitely killing us a little bit. In a series like that, McGee is the absolute perfect guy you want for something like that. We don't need you to score, maybe roll to the basket, right? We don't need you to score. We don't need you to be a defensive stopper. You just get a butt on Gobert, and you make sure that he stays off the glass for us. And in a series like that, if he could do that, which I think he's more than capable of, he would be invaluable. So I want to say that about the Toronto game. We got killed on the offensive boards, especially early. We were really struggling. Now, one thing that Toronto did in this game is on the pick and roll. They did it some in the first half. They started doing it a little more in the third. But they started to, whenever the Mavs would run a pick and roll, they would start to shade towards Luka and or just straight up double team him. And again, they do this like 4 or 5 times in a row. This is going to be much like the Dinwiddie video we did on the Pelicans, I think it was. They do this about 4 or 5 times in a row. Dallas is struggling to get anything going. They don't seem ready to react to that, right? And I don't know how you don't react to a double team out of the pick and roll. It's like one of the most basic things you should be ready for, especially if you have a guy like Luka. But here in the fourth quarter, they start shading the so in other words, they would do a pick and roll, and instead of the guy who's supposed to release with whoever set the pick whenever he runs off, he would kind of hang around instead, and he would shade to Luka, or they would just outright double team Luka. And they were double teaming him in the corner, like as soon as he crossed half court. And, Dallas kept going to this like sideline pick and roll where like you're asking Luka or whoever had the ball to kind of tightrope down the sideline on a pick and roll. And again, beating a double team is much like beating a full court press, especially if they're going to double team you out at half court or, very extended from the 3-point line. They're going to try and double team you essentially as soon as you run that pick and roll, no matter where it is, they're going to double team you. Why Jason Kidd kept putting Luka on the sideline, like he was going down the sideline. So like in this area here, right, kind of where my hand is here, or where my pointer is here, kind of in this area is where they kept having Luka bring the ball up and run the pick and roll. And I just don't understand that, because you're not, anyone who's played sports, the out of bounds line is essentially another defender for you. You should use it to your advantage as a defensive team. And so I don't understand why he was doing that. But that being said, the reason why I bring that up and how breaking a double team is much like breaking a press, you want to get the ball to the middle of the floor. I brought this up against New Orleans, I think, as well. You want to get the ball in the middle of the floor with as much space as possible, and you have to make the defense cover as much space as possible. And on a full court press or even a half court press, you want to get the ball to the middle. Once the ball is in the middle of the floor, essentially the press is dead. And what I mean by that is that the press has to now fall back and recover, because if you get it to the middle of the floor, by the way, if you get it to the middle of the floor, you should immediately turn and attack. Essentially, once the ball's in the middle of the floor, you now have so many options to you. And again, a lot of times the press is centered around cornering you, getting you up against the sideline, pressuring you in terms of as soon as you cross half court, if you're running a half court press, pressuring you as soon as you cross half court because you can't go back anymore. Using the space of the floor to your advantage as a defensive team, you should use the space of the floor to your advantage as an offensive team as well. And for whatever reason, Kid kept running them this pick and roll like up against the sideline over here, and was not leaving the ball handler, mainly Luka, was not leaving the ball handler any room to operate, getting him stuck. Essentially, now you're allowing the press or the double team to go from 2 to 3 players using the sideline. And I don't know what he was doing or what he was thinking. You should be wanting to run that pick and roll. If you are going to run it in the middle of the floor at the bottom of the logo, right? You have all the space now as an offensive guy, especially someone as creative as Luka and as good a passer as Luka is, to operate with much more room, and he's not as pressured. He's not as pressured in terms of the limited space that he has. And so one thing I didn't see when Toronto started double teaming Luka here and shading to him, no one flashed to the middle, no one's getting open, no one's moving. There's just, again, like, Kid just lets this happen like 4 or 5 times, and even when they came back out of the timeout, there's no adjustment. Like, nothing changes. and you're not reacting to what the defense is giving you. If I was coaching a junior high team and they started trying to double team the entire half court, if we ran a pick and roll and they decided to double team like our best player that far away from the basket, you should be able to absolutely make them pay. And there's no excuse to not. You have them in such a compromised position. If you know what you're doing, you should be able to capitalize on it. So that's what we're looking for in this video here is they're going to start shading and or double teaming Luka out of the pick and roll, and Kid doesn't adjust. There's no adjustment. There's no, again, creativity is the word I use, but there's just nothing there. So let's watch.
It'll move quicker.
So Luka's out right now.
And then Dinwiddie drives off balance shot. They called him for an offensive foul.
Dallas got some horrible calls against them in terms of offensive fouls against them. That was one of them, but yeah, me being a homer complaining about the refs, I know.
Turns the ball over. Into the lane, Dinwiddie. They call him for an
As you can see here, that's just
quick update from Leslie McCaslin on Pascal Siakam.
what gets me irritated about this is not even so much if it is or isn't an offensive foul, but it's that going the other way, right? It's like Luka has to get mugged in the middle of the lane for them to call anything for him. And I understand that Luka invites a lot of contact as well. It's kind of like Shaq's dilemma. You know, how do you properly call a player who's so physical? It's really hard. I get that. But if a player's just going to flop like that, or if you're going to call Dinwiddie the play before that an offensive foul because their arms got hooked together, you know, it's like, what are you calling on the other end? And it's like Luka has to get, you know, quite literally mugged going through the middle of the lane for him to get a call.
The first 6 points of the fourth quarter. Trent just scored. Here he drives.
And I also want to say this. I've been saying it all year. I'll say it again. Dallas defense gets a lot of hands on balls, man. They really do. Again, I feel like sometimes defensively when teams go on runs against us, it's because we made a good move on the ball. We got a hand on it, but it just doesn't bounce our way, and you know, the opposing team has a player underneath the basket or something like that. But Dallas's activity on defense with their hands is incredible. And the next layer to that is Luka's defense, one-on-one defense. No one's talking about it right now, but it has drastically improved. I'm not saying he's a stopper or he's, you know, one of the better defenders in the league, but I have seen him multiple times in almost every game move his feet, get in front of his defender, hands up, and he stops them or he makes them shoot a difficult shot. He's also been really good with his hands as well, whether off ball or on ball. Luka's defense, compared to what it was last year, has exponentially gotten better. Again, not saying he's, you know, Reggie Bullock or Finney Smith or anything, but he absolutely has improved his defense and footwork this year, and no one's really brought it up yet, but I'm going to say it right here. As long as he keeps doing this when we get to the playoffs, there's going to be some times where teams try to ISO him, and it's not going to work. And he's going to come right back down the floor, and he's going to hit a three or he's going to score. And if they try to do that over an entire game, I feel very confident with letting them take Luka one-on-one as much as they want to try and do that. And then letting it, and he's going to get enough stops to where we will get enough offense where they can't do that anymore. 3 straight offensive foul calls. 3 straight.
That's 3 turnovers in a row.
You know what I mean? That just doesn't happen. That one's better than the other 2, to be honest. I think they had a coach's challenge and they lost this challenge, so the call stood. And then also, to no one's surprise, Green has also drastically improved. He is hitting his open threes, which is more than what we can say for a lot of guys so far this year, although I expect that to change, mainly Bullock. I'm looking at you. But Green's athleticism, the 3-headed monster defensively of Green, Bullock, and Finney Smith, if you can throw those guys out there, and they, again, I said this on one of the other videos, there's nothing more aggravating when you're running an offense than when you try to get a mismatch or a switch and the guy who switches to you from the last guy is just as good as a defender. There's nothing more irritating than that on offense. If you can have Green, Bullock, and Finney-Smith out there switch, and Maxey's not a good wing defender, but he's a good defender overall, especially for the power forward position. If you can have those guys out there running around, switching on defense, and giving each other minutes on the bench to rest, that will pay huge dividends throughout the year.
Well, this group on the floor needs a hoop. And Wood with pressure on him. And it's Kleba from Wood. A last-second, last-ditch pass.
Maxey's alley-oop games have been a lot better this year, too.
Christian Wood put it down.
Quarter time to look down, get his feet behind the line, and he hit.
And I also say, sorry I keep stopping the video. I'm getting a little sour on Christian Wood, and I know that sounds crazy because he's played so well so far, but him and Luka have the same problem. They complain too much to the refs, and I don't put this all on Wood. I mainly put this on Kidd, but Wood is not getting the ball in good spots and doing good things with it offensively, if that makes sense. I feel like he's in what I call the James Harden zone, where it's either a three or he's just going to try and bully ball his way to the hole. It's either one or the other extreme, and I don't like that. I would like to see him, I will say, though, it seems like we try to get him the ball in that kind of extended post area. So, again, it's not all his fault, but I get this feeling that he's going to start struggling here, and I know he's kind of hurt right now with his knee, but I just feel like he was starting to struggle a little bit, and the offense was not coming just as smoothly as it was the first few games. I don't know if he's thinking about it too much. I don't know what, but it just feels like it's hard to put into words, but it was almost like he was trying to do too much. It's almost like the Dinwiddie issue, like, kind of either make your move or don't. And I feel like sometimes he gets out there, he plays with the ball a little too much. He's trying to be a little too saucy with it, as the kids say. And I just didn't like that, and I felt like he was going to start struggling. But hopefully his injury isn't too bad. Hopefully he comes back here and he can get back into a good offensive rhythm. Still no Luka.
For the Raptors on the floor.
8-point game, 9 minutes left. Dinwiddie, the door is closed on the drive, so he goes back outside, running the hallway. The post up and Achua, just a quick
In this contest right now.
And because of it, Luke is about to go back in the game as Dinwiddie slithers.
Now, Christian Wood had that one good pass to Maxey, but this is our first bucket, if you notice. And with all of the offense, what has it been? Yes, I want Dinwiddie to be aggressive, but it's been a lot of people just standing around, watching Dinwiddie work. Christian Wood, again, I would say that was more on Maxey back cutting when his defender wasn't paying attention that created that bucket more than it was Wood making some kind of good move and having the defense have to rotate over to him. This is just trying to, what I'm saying is that the offense is very stagnant. It's very stale. It's very predictable.
Raptors scoring just about every time down the floor here in the fourth quarter, but they won't this time because Scotty Barnes traveled. And you've got the return of Luka.
So here we go. All right, you see, this is what I'm talking about where I'm telling you that they're shading. They're not even really worried about Dinwiddie right now. And also, so they've done this a few times during the game so far, right? And I want you to look at the middle of the floor, right? I want you now to think about if you had someone like Dwight Powell or Green or even a Maxey, as these are the three guys on the floor here. Think about those guys cutting to the middle of the floor and or setting another screen for Luka, because if they're going to double or shade, right, getting a guy to come and set another screen on Luka could do one of two things. So you could say, right, that let's say Green here in the corner. Let's say he flashes to the free throw line here, right? The middle of the floor. But let's say his defender comes with him. He's not open. Okay, that makes sense. Now let's say if Green went and set another pick on Luka, right? And they want to do this whole thing where they're doubling off of the pick and roll. Now you've gotten Green open sort of like through the back door in a way. If Green comes over and sets a pick for Luka, right? Green here in the corner comes over. I need to get a highlighter for my clicker. Hang on a second. Let me look this up. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, now we're rolling with here we go. So you have Green here in the corner, right? What I was saying is, like, just because he flashes high doesn't necessarily mean he'll get open. His defender could come with him. That is what I would expect them to do, and it's what they should do if you're playing defense. But as I was saying, let's say Green comes to set another pick on Luka, correct? Again, if they want to do this whole double and shading out of the pick and roll, you've sort of gotten Green open through through the back door, right? Green comes over, sets a pick, and now he can simply, now look where he has to go. He just kind of has to roll and just kind of fade over here to the free throw line, and he's wide open. And I definitely trust Luka to make that pass. And or even another thing could happen as that happens, and Green kind of rolls here to the free throw line, correct? This defender over here may have to shade and take Green if he sees that Green's going to be wide open in such a vulnerable spot of the defense as the middle of the lane or the free throw line. Dinwiddie's now open, right? So this is what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't really take a whole lot of creativity or even just thinking, just a minimum basketball IQ to understand how to react to what they are doing, correct? And so I just want to, that's just what I'm pointing out here in this video, is how much like the Pelican series, right? There is just no flow to anything we're doing. There's no reaction and exploitation of what the defense is doing.
Second defender.
Now, Luka got fouled there, right? But, no, look at everybody. They are still in the same spot they were in. Kid is just hoping Luka is going to beat everybody one-on-one, ISO, or even doubled, right? And sure, like I've said kind of early in the game, right? Luka gets out to these hot starts a lot of times because, you know, beginning of the game, guys are kind of feeling out the flow. They're kind of feeling out how the ref's going to call things, etc. And so Luka gets out to these hot starts. If you notice, he really starts to struggle sometimes in the third and fourth quarter, even sometimes the second quarter, because, okay, now the defense has seen you do this 10 times, right? They sort of know what to expect, or they might say, hey, Luka's hitting the threes tonight, so let's run him off the three. Or they might say, hey, he's getting to the paint and he's hitting that turnaround. All right, let's not let him get to the paint, right? Teams will begin to pick up on things. I know I complain about Luka not getting calls, but even as much as I complain about that, he still gets to the line a lot because he is so physical.
You know, one of the things Jason Kidd, talking to him before the game, said they want to dominate the free throw line this year. And they lead the league with 29 attempts a game. They got 19 tonight. Three ball no good. Dinwiddie high for the rebound.
I mean, Luka's shooting 11, so you can
Some good footwork. Plays like that, Luka got burned on last year in the playoffs. Luka's been really good with his footwork on defense.
Just got back into the game. And it's a foul. Barnes
for the Raptors.
So see, I mean, you can already see, like, they have two guys shading Luka up the floor the whole way. This is one of those things also where you have to take some pressure off of Luka. I remember this about Allen Iverson a lot, even though he was more of like, he was a point guard, but he was more of a scoring guard, right? They would just hound Iverson all game, everywhere, 24/7 around the court. You know, every square inch of that thing, they'd have a guy hounding him, if not multiple guys shading him or trying to double him because the Sixers didn't have much else going on. I never got why they didn't let someone else bring the ball up the court, right? Let Iverson take his time getting up the court, let him get to a spot, and then run a pick for him, run him off some screens, like have him flash somewhere to start to do his work, instead of having Luka every time or Iverson. This is energy being expended. And I know they're NBA athletes and whatnot, but again, we're thinking about championship aspirations here and playoff situations. This is going to wear on. They've been doing it the whole game, and I've seen all the other teams do it as well. They're making Luka work. If Luka's going to have to beat us, then fine. We're going to make him earn every single dribble that he takes. And so I don't understand why. Because you think about someone like Dinwiddie or someone like even maybe like a Green or some other ball handler, they're not gonna pressure them all the way up the floor. That's just not their strategy. And so why you don't take that more efficient way of bringing the ball up the court and getting it into Luka's hands, again, I don't understand.
And Anunoby is doing some good stuff tonight. 22 to lead them in scoring. Barnes now.
So, go back a second.
For the Raptors.
You see they're going to double him the whole way.
And Anunoby is doing some good stuff.
Luka's got to kick it all the way over there.
Barnes now has 5 points after those 2 freebies. Down to 7 minutes to play. Luka against Barnes on a drive. He found Cleve out in the corner.
That's just a bad mistake. But again, there's no movement. There's no...
I believe it's 4 turnovers. Luka.
Look at how Dinwiddie tries to get open here. Oh, pick, no, give me the ball. No, you know what I mean? It's just no down screens, no backdoor cuts, no baseline runners. And again, a lot of those offensive turnovers that we had, the couple of offensive fouls on Dinwiddie and whatnot, came because there's no playing off of each other. Dinwiddie is one of the few guys who can kind of get his own shot on our team after Luka. And instead of the team getting each other in good spots or running something where even someone like Dorian Finney-Smith, okay, or Maxey, we're going to run you off the baseline off a couple picks, maybe get you an open corner 3. If not, as the defense rotates, we're looking for a dump down in the post or a drive and a dump down low or something like that, or someone flashes high post. Dinwiddie, a lot of those offensive fouls because Dinwiddie's having to feel as if he has to force something, right? And as long as Dinwiddie's being aggressive and not hesitating, I can live with that. As I said before, I don't like Dinwiddie needs to go. He's one of those guys. He doesn't need to try and break someone down off the dribble. He either pull up for the 3 or go to the hole. Like, that's what he needs to do. But that being said, if Dinwiddie's the only guy being aggressive on the floor, again, the defense is going to pick up on that. And so a lot of those offensive fouls that Dinwiddie had were because Toronto knows he's going to be the guy doing it, and they just kind of have to sit and wait and draw the charge.
Right now, offensively.
So that's twice now, right? Twice now we've seen the defense either shade or double Luka. And so far, both times, they've already done this during the game. Kid hasn't done anything different. So here we go again. Here comes Powell. See, they're not worried about Powell. And actually, I missed that the first time. See, they come here. This guy's going to hold Powell for just a second. Now, Powell is right. Powell actually did the right thing here. This is where you need to be. Why Luka didn't immediately give him the ball, I have no idea. But someone who is as athletic as Powell gets the ball right there, I mean, that even though Powell's not some offensive whiz, that's a dangerous spot for the defense. Powell, one dribble, and he's at the rim, essentially. And he's probably going to dunk on whoever in this kind of open court, guard-heavy situation you have. Powell's going to slam it down on him, or he's going to go to the line, either way, or get both. So Luka should have immediately dumped the ball here. And it's not even so much that we want Powell to have the ball, per se, instead of Luka, but you have to look at it like, hey, Luka can easily make that pass, right? Little right hand fade bounce pass or something. He could have got it there. I believe this is Maxey in the corner, or is it? I think this is Maxey in the corner here. Maxey is wide open. Now, kickball by the defense, but going forward, that's exactly what I was talking about, and that is how you should beat this play every time. Now, I think Powell sort of went to that spot just out of instinct. My opinion, I don't think Kidd told him to do that, or that's the look they're going for, right? Or that is the immediate reaction you should have to a double team that far away from the basket. I think Powell just did that instinctively, and he was right, and Luka was going to make the right pass.
Didn't double Luka.
And at a minimum, Maxey is wide open. I mean, wide open for a corner three. I will live with Maxey taking wide open threes. If the defense rotates, it's a quick, easy kick back over to Dinwiddie. Back here. So, boom. If Powell gets the ball, he either turns and attacks. Let's say they rotate over. So, let's say Powell holds it for just a split second. He kicks it over to Maxey. He's going to have to rotate here. This guy over here who's on Finney-Smith in the corner is going to have to come to Powell, or else it's just a pass right back to Powell for a dunk from Maxey. Or this guy's going to rotate. This guy might rotate also. So, if it comes to Maxey, this is what I'm saying. Like, you have to react to what the defense is doing. Depending on what happens after Maxey gets the ball here, let's say he doesn't shoot it and he decides to let the defense come to him because something else is going to open up a better shot. It's either a quick swing to Dinwiddie, who still we're looking at Powell and Finney, because right now you have a 4-on-3. This is a 4-on-3, although you might say it's a half-court situation. This is a 4-on-3 right now, and it's a matter of making 2 to 3 good passes or Maxey getting an open shot. That either will result in Finney getting the ball in the corner or Powell perhaps getting a good look underneath the basket, or maybe Dinwiddie getting an open look. I would rather Maxey shoot the 3. This is also knowing about who you're playing with. I'd rather Maxey shoot the 3. I think he's just an overall better shooter than Finney-Smith or Dinwiddie. Although Dinwiddie's been so hot this year, I mean, I'll live with that. But again, if you're wide open as Maxey, this is what you want, you know?
Big ball.
So a lot of teams, Orlando last week, didn't double Luka. Toronto tonight running it out of his hands.
Yep.
So it goes back to, like I said earlier.
Thank you, D-Harp.
Just take a look at the ball movement.
And the group on
For the Raptors to knock down a 3.
All right, so the same thing. See, and this is what I'm also talking about, why isn't the pick being done here in the middle? That's also what I don't like. And maybe I'm thinking of the Brooklyn game. I felt like they were getting even closer to the out-of-bounds line and setting a pick. I mean, literally, the guy was coming to set a pick, 4 or 5 feet away from the out-of-bounds line, and they were trying to have the ball handler literally skirt down in between the pick and the out-of-bounds line. I didn't get that at all. But you can see here, I mean, this goes one of two ways, right? And with Luka, you imagine he's going to win this most of the time. But they have you doubled as far away from the basket in a half-court set as possible. Now, that can be a win for the defense, but that can also turn into a huge liability for the defense as well. So, let's go a little further. You see here, this guy in the middle here, and it shows you how little they respect Bullock, by the way. This guy is already trying to take away the middle flash. What Powell just did the play before, this guy's not going to let happen. Essentially, they're going to make you either swing the ball or you're going to have to make a really difficult pass across the court in the corner to Bullock. Now, Luka picked up his dribble, which he shouldn't have done.
And the group on the floor. This is the starting lineup for Dallas. Powell, strong to the rim. Finney-Smith tips it in. Big basket.
You see, Powell is athletic enough as a power forward, small forward. He can one dribble it on the deck and get around you, which is very nice to have.
Sure was.
Now Powell
That was still a bit of an ugly offensive play, but we'll see some more here in a second. Good hands again by Dallas. So again, they're shading. That was a bit of a broken play defensively.
Timeout called. 5:49.
I maybe would have liked to see Bullock hold it there and get another set offensively, especially with so little time left. 5:50 to go. Would have liked to seen us work the clock a little bit.
6 boards, 6 assists. Very effective, important winning basketball.
Good D by Bullock, man. I love this. Defensively, I love this team, man.
19-6 Toronto run, but a big-time stop by Dallas.
So here, this is where you should be setting the pick. So here it comes.
Got to switch.
You can see he shades Powell for just a little bit. Good pass by Luka.
Double team. Powell drops it off.
That's just. I'm a basketball genius, right? Like, I'm telling you, that is how easy it is to break the double team. You get the ball in the middle of the floor, it should be game over. It should be a dunk almost every time, or at least a wide open three.
Up for the power dunk.
That's an adjustment that Dallas made. They know that you're going to double Luka now. So you get the ball to the middle of the floor, and you're going to have numbers on the back for the Mavericks. Nice.
Not just numbers, but options. When you get it to the middle, I mean, literally every option is available to you. You can kick it, you can drive, you can dump it. You literally can do anything. You have to do it quick, and you have to attack, and you have to be aggressive. You can't let the defense recover. But when you get it to the middle of the floor like that, when a defense is pushing you, it's game over. Like, it's just, there's literally no reason why you can't get a bucket every time. It's almost like, in football, right? It's really the guys, if they get into the middle of the field who are really athletic and really good, and they get it in space running, it's just so hard to stop them. Bullock again, I'm telling you, man.
Raptor defense in conflict. And Finney Smith finishes it off with the hammer. And going up top to Powell, but he couldn't catch it.
Again, that wasn't a horrible look. It maybe could have been a better pass, but this is one of those things where I would like to see us use all 20 to 24 seconds on the shot clock in a situation like this. You are literally trying to squeeze a win out by running down as much time as possible. You are trying to have the number of possessions go from here to here when you have the lead. That's what you're trying to do.
Cleanly. To Barnes. And that is
Siakam's in the locker room. So
waiting on the pick.
Production offensively right now.
Siakam's in the locker room, and Van Vliet's in street clothes.
So I think what they've done here is Toronto has said any guard, essentially not Powell. Because, again, Powell may be a nobody to the rest of the league, or people don't really know him, but Powell will dunk it on you, and he'll dunk it on you quick and with some authority. And so I think essentially what they've said here, in my opinion, is that anyone besides who is guarding Powell is going to double or shade Luka. If it's Powell, don't do it, because Powell, if he gets open at the free throw line, 18-foot area, it's game time.
Pretty nice sweatsuit that he has.
Yes, that it is. Oh, Powell underneath. Down he goes, and Nick Nurse wants to challenge it. He's asking.
Kind of took the long road there in terms of breaking the double team. Luka had to dribble all the way around, but we'll take it. That's just what Luka does. Luka can create.
Whether or not he should challenge it. Just Achua.
Yeah, that was a foul. I remember that play.
Against Oklahoma's. Barnes a driving kick. Boucher a late clock drive. His shot's no good, but it's tipped in. Another second chance opportunity.
And as I said earlier, like especially early in this game, we were getting killed on the offensive boards. Now, do you put McGee in? I don't know. McGee obviously is very limited offensively, but I tell you what, he probably would have caught that alley-oop from Dinwiddie a second ago. And I'm pretty sure he probably could have made a few dunks that Powell made as well on the rolls or being open underneath the basket. So, again, McGee will be fine. I know people are really mad at McGee right now. He will be okay. He will pay dividends later.
23-second chance points.
Scotty Barnes, you mentioned it a few minutes ago, follow with that. He's coming.
See, again, this is what I'm talking. I don't get this. I don't know if this is part of kid thinking that this is gonna open up the floor or something. If we're able to swing it back to like the middle of the bottom logo or something here in this area, but I don't understand. Again, I don't like this. Dribbling to the sideline, essentially, getting Luka in the corner. Like you're doing half of the work for the double team on your own just by where you're setting the pick. I don't really get that. Great pass by Luka. Again, if we're relying on passes like this over and over, I don't like that, But again, Luka is who he is. He's a great passer, I'm thinking of a mentality of coaching junior high and high school kids, right? You players aren't going to make that kind of pass that regularly and that effectively most of the time. And I don't like him getting stuck all the way out here in the corner. Now, maybe kid says, look, I trust Luka so much to make a good pass that I want to draw these guys out as far as possible. I think that's a little counterintuitive. I'd rather you just do it here in the middle of the floor where you have more space and they don't get to use the sideline and you're still drawing them out quite a ways.
Through the defenders to Powell. Raptors rotations recovered. Up top, Boucher called for a foul. 3 in the quarter on the Raptors.
Yeah.
And also something about that I just saw.
3-second chance points.
Scotty Barnes, you mentioned.
Let's say we can get the pick here, right? This is also about when you get the ball to the middle of the floor. Luka coming over here to the corner, and then where he has to get it to Powell. Do you notice where Powell catches it?
He's coming to life.
Because Luka is already with his back up against the wall, metaphorically speaking, in this area, Powell or someone else does not really have time to get a little deeper, right? Powell getting the ball here does not quite kill that double team like it would if he got it here by the free throw line. So that's kind of why I don't like us doing the pick so far away and in the corner. I'd rather he do it here for one of two reasons. The role for Powell or whoever is coming to set the pick, if you are able, let's say Luka does have to pass it quickly, even getting it here at the top of the free throw line as compared to here a little further out on the wing is a big difference. And secondly, when you are over here in this corner, it makes this pass to the corner or to this side of the floor a little harder. Whereas I understand Bullock's open, but that too is a bit of a hard pass in terms of just being stuck in a corner. Having it here in the middle, you can go left or right or down the middle. Do you understand? Like, again, that's why the middle is so important, is that it gives you as many options as possible. When you get stuck on the corner here, it makes this pass or exposing this part of the floor, it makes it much harder. And it kind of, again, the defense is using the out of bounds to their advantage, right? Like I said earlier, if you played sports, the out of bounds is a third defender if you're double teaming like this, or if it's a second defender if you're just guarding someone one-on-one. They are using kind of that space, the out of bounds, and denying this pass. So now you've kind of cut off a third of the court, right? In a way, by having the pick be set all the way over here in the corner.
Through the defenders to Powell. Raptors rotations recovered.
I would have maybe liked to have seen Powell take a dribble or hold it for just a split second to see what the defense would have done there as well.
He's got 11 rebounds tonight. That is a season high for him. Along with 9 points.
So now they're going to let him be single.
And here's Luka with a spot on the floor.
Again, Luka's shot selection has gotten much better over the past few games. He has shot way less threes. In this game, he had it going, so that's fine. And I've always said, even though Luka maybe is not the best three-point shooter, when it comes to that left area, that left wing area that he just hit that shot at, I mean, that is his spot. So I can live with that.
For Luka and the Mavericks. Advantage Dallas by 7.
Is the best player in the NBA.
The initiator for Luka and the Mavericks.
Now remember those fouls they called on Dinwiddie, right? Remember those fouls.
Advantage Dallas by 7.
How is that not the same thing right there, you know? That was a tough shot. It was a good shot.
Yeah, and all of that stuff. But Luka's the best player in the NBA right now. He really is.
See, Luka's already shading over to the corner.
He is wearing the crown.
He's the best in the business.
He's able to maneuver around Barnes.
Again, I mean, Luka's Luka, right? So, I mean, yes, he can do this, but nobody did anything that play. It's just a lot of standing around.
In the paint, looks off the defense. Dinwiddie deep in the corner, no good. Mavericks.
And this goes back to what I was saying, that I'd like to see Luka get guys going earlier rather than later. Again, in a spot like this, because Luka's kind of he does what he does and he dominates the game. You know, there's nobody really in a rhythm in this game. No one's hit a couple threes. No one's like, you know, shown that, tonight, you know, I got it going too with Luka. And so now you're hoping guys hit shots. Again, I've said this before. You're hoping guys get it going in a really crucial spot, in a really crucial time of the game, as opposed to, again, finding out who's hot earlier, whose night it is. Again, with this deep rotation we got, there's more than a few guys who can get it going or at least hit some threes throughout the game. And so we don't know who that is right now because Luka's doing what he does. They've been pressuring him, so it's been a lot of drives to the basket and whatnot. But now we're like hoping, and I know they're professionals and they should all be ready to hit shots. But again, we don't know if someone preferably has a hot hand or not. Maybe we set them up for the corner three instead of Dinwiddie. You know what I mean? And the defense has to respect that.
Have an eye on the rebound. Both Powell and Finney-Smith go after it. Shot clock resets to 14. And Luka looking for a rinse and repeat when that side of the floor was on target.
Again, one thing we did not do in this game, and this gets us in trouble in these fourth quarters, is I call it the Utah Jazz method of what Karl Malone and John Stockton used to do a lot, is we are trying to use every second of that shot clock right now to cut down the number of possessions, and we are trying to anaconda squeeze you in terms of just making the game from a 12-minute quarter to a 5-minute quarter. That's what we want it to feel like, right? And when you're up by 10, 12 points with 5, 6, 7 minutes to go, I mean, we're talking about trying to cut the possessions down from here to here. And we're really just trying to squeeze you to death in terms of clock management. And they don't do that a lot. And I understand Luka gets hot. He's doing his thing. And guys get open threes. Totally understand that. But I would like to see us milk the clock a little more in these fourth quarters when we're up.
Barnes scored last time down. He scored the last 2 times down, as a matter of fact. He shoots. He missed a 3. And this will...
That's why he makes a lot of them when they look like tough shots.
So we're going to run a double screen here at the top. They're not going to double, or they are going to double Dinwiddie. Okay.
Finney-Smith from Dinwiddie. Straightaway 3, no good. Foul! Well, he just has a knack, and you can see he had a beat on it all the way. Nick Nurse motions for a second defender. Luka dribbled away from it. Looks off the defense. Reggie Bullock.
I love Bullock. I think you like McGee. I think people are hating a little too much on him right now. Bullock has got to start hitting those shots, man.
He was the late game hero the other night, and the ball's out of...
If Mavs hit threes, I mean, I know you could say that for a lot of teams, but I think especially for the Mavericks, if some of our guys are hitting threes, I think we're almost unbeatable.
Powell kept it alive, and Anunoby's the last to touch it.
Powell and Green, man, have been bringing some really good energy off the bench, or even if I think Powell started a game or two. Powell does this about 2 to 4 times a game, where he will just literally hustle off after an offensive board. Even if he doesn't get it, he'll knock it out of the guy's hand, throw it off his foot or something. He's done that about 2 to 4 times every game I've seen.
Somebody got to get open.
And it's the back shoulder fade to Dinwiddie. 1:40 left in the game.
Again, a lot of standing around. It's just a lot of one-on-one basketball, man.
Because of a foul, which is the 4th in the quarter.
And I understand that's the way the NBA does things these days and lately, but
so Powell,
you're leaving so much juice to be squeezed in terms of things you could do offensively if all you're doing is just running an ISO.
Finney Smith. 10 to shoot. The Mavs have been able to take some time off the clock because of their prowess on the offensive glass. And Achua blocks the shot by Powell.
Now, this is just going to be one of those preferential style things that I would do. First of all, Powell is way too deep down here. And I understand he's trying to get the defender to sag a little more to him. The thing is, like, you're not a shooter, pal, so I don't think guys really need to sag that much onto you. Secondly, this the other defender, it was at Clarkson, I think. This other guy, if I was a defensive coach, I would tell him to shade a little bit here in front of Powell, and you know, he as the pass comes or as Luka drives, he can easily recover either side. I would have moved this guy up a little more into the middle of the paint. Something like that, keeping in mind of the defensive 3 seconds. That being said, stylistically as a coach, right here when Luka goes and this guy comes, Dinwiddie or Powell, again, somebody needs to be flashing to this open space on the floor. And I probably would have Dinwiddie do it because if Powell comes, he's going to bring another defender to Luka, although that defender's going to go to Luka anyways. But again,
take some time off.
If I was a defense right here, right, this guy should be guarding Powell, and this guy should be coming to help Luka. So that's a little bit of a defensive miscue, I think. I think if you're Toronto, you live with the ball getting kicked out to Finney Smith or Dinwiddie. But if I was Dallas, I would have had Dinwiddie be crashing right here, or the free throw line extended area. And you make the defense again have to respect the options that Luka has. Right now, Luka, in terms of the options, you know, see how far Dinwiddie is? Like, why aren't you right here? Why aren't you right here for the 15, 16, 17 footer? You understand? Finney Smith can stay here. Bullock can stay there. That's fine. A little bit of spacing. But again, if Toronto played this right, Powell would have never gotten this lob even as an opportunity, right? I would have had him crash. I would have already had this guy here keeping Luka out of the lane altogether. And then that probably would have opened up something more or less right here. Now, Luka's reacting to what the defense gives them, so that's fine. But how Toronto lets Powell just get so wide open on this lob, I'm not sure.
Because of their prowess on the offensive glass, and Achua blocks the shot by Powell.
Good recovery.
And here comes Scotty Barnes with momentum. He missed it. Boucher block.
Again, we got crushed on the offensive board there, even though he got blocked. Double team on Luka. See, I like that. Run the clock.
Kick ball, and that will help down. Pass.
You know, and for all the shots that Bullock has been missing so far this year, as we've watched this, he's had about 3 to 5 defensive plays, a block, a couple steals. I believe he got another hand on a ball that ended up being a turnover. I'm telling you, man, this defense is going to be just fine. I think they're going to be great. There it is. Now, let's wind that back just a little bit. I think this is a miscue on Powell's part. Not being aggressive. So there's 10 seconds on the shot clock right now. You should know that. You should know that if you get the ball in this position we've been talking about where you can exploit the defense, I don't think a kick out is the proper play here. I would like to see Powell, again, one of the things, even on like a full court press, or I've said if you get the ball to the middle, a large part of that is when you get it there is to turn around and go and attack the defense. And again, you look here, I am more than okay with Powell, 9 seconds now, Powell taking one dribble and trying to absolutely stuff it down this guy's throat. I don't like that right there. Like, this guy's already retreating before Powell even makes that pass. He doesn't respect him at all. And so, in my opinion, getting Dinwiddie the ball all the way back out here with 8 seconds to go, I don't think is the right play there. Powell should have been aggressive, as well as... hate that I have to rewind 10 whole seconds.
Here comes the second defender.
So, I would have liked to see him come to a stop right here. Instead, he kind of takes a dribble or two out away from the basket again. I would have liked to have seen him just catch this, turn around, and look at that defender right here and say, what do you want to do? I'm gonna take one dribble and stuff it, or I'm going to take one dribble and kick it out to the corner here to Finney Smith, who's much more wide open than Dinwiddie, if you understand what I'm saying. See how far away he is? I mean, literally the difference, though, is catching it right here, stopping and turning. One dribble, and we're trying to ram it down his throat. Other than that, like Dorian Finney-Smith's wide open. That can be your next play. Instead, he kicks it back out to Dinwiddie because I think it's just the default. Like, we're trying to hold on to the ball too much for a win instead of continuing to attack. And yes, I said milk the clock, but now we're down to 9 seconds. So it's okay to go into attack mode.
Powell runs to receive a pass.
And now you see where the ball's at, right? The ball got to where I said it probably would have gone anyways if the dunk's not there when Powell turned around. Finney-Smith would have gotten the ball even much more wide open than this because, again, this guy number 4 would have had to collapse in on Powell. Again, we're not putting pressure on the defense. That little kick out to Dinwiddie allows the defense to recover and rotate and get back to where they need to be.
Finney Smith attacks a closeout. Luka with 5 on the shot.
And so now look at where we're at. The ball now has gone because the defense has been able to recover. The ball's gone all the way back out to Luka, and it's almost like we're starting from scratch except with 3.5 seconds to go on the shot clock.
Shot clock with 3, and he is dancing again.
That's not a good I mean, don't Luka Magic, I understand, but that's not a good shot. That is not a good offensive series we just ran. And the entire difference is Powell should have caught the ball right here, turned, and put pressure on this guy. Or this guy. They both want to collapse. That's fine. More than likely, this guy, if he turns and he looks at the rim and he's looking like, hey, I'm about to try and get on Sports Center here. This guy's gonna have to pick up Powell, and Finney Smith's gonna be much more wide open than when he gets the ball after it goes to Dinwiddie and then back to him. See, the defense now has recovered. Maybe you could have said Finney Smith could have made a quick little touch pass here to Powell. Again, that's a hard pass to catch so quickly and then kick over to Powell, especially with 3 and 5 collapsing here. But again, Powell should have turned and been aggressive instead of kicking it out to Dinwiddie.
Finney Smith attacks a closeout. Once again, Barnes is going to go downhill. He finds Boucher. Open corner 3. No good. And it's Achua and Dinwiddie, and it's tipped up multiple times. Precious Achua. And there's a foul. And it's on the Mavericks with 35 seconds left in the game. On Powell.
I thought this was an offensive foul. Usually I'm always on the side of, but he doesn't even get ball here, and he just gets leveled. I mean, I'm all for a little blacktop basketball, but in terms of how they call things, I think that should have been offensive.
Or free throw. So here we go again.
They're going to double Luka.
The Mavericks with a 6th of 8 games going right down to the wire.
So I think Luka didn't make the right call here.
Next Dallas possession. So here we go again.
They're going to double Luka.
So look, Powell does the right thing. He comes here. The ball, in my opinion, should essentially already be on the way to Powell. And you can see here we got a little 3-on-2 ball situation going over here on the right side of the floor. Now, I think what Luka is thinking is a quick pass to Dinwiddie and a quick pass to Finney Smith here. Again, they're against the sideline. They're going to be more limited than if Powell gets it right here, turns, and either attacks or kicks it in the corner to Finney Smith. And again, that's a much more efficient way of doing it, getting it to the middle. Defense has to somewhat soak in and collapse on you. And from there, Powell has to make the right call. So, you know, I think right there the right call should have been to Powell. And again, you see the guy is all over Dinwiddie, right? That is a hard pass. I don't understand. Maybe Luka just didn't feel like he could make that pass through the two defenders to Powell. Or maybe he doesn't trust Powell in a late situation. I'm not sure. Maybe he's thinking free throws. I'd rather have Dinwiddie shoot free throws. But again, right there, Powell should have gotten the ball in the middle. And essentially they're dead. And we're playing 3-on-2 ball here on the right side. And again, you still have 15 seconds left. Plenty of time that if you play this little 3-on-2 ball and the defense recovers and rotates and you don't get a good shot, we still have time to run something else and do a pick and roll or run whatever.
Right down to the wire. They're up now by 3. It's into Luka.
Luka gets hit in the face. See, again, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me what we're doing here. First off,
they're up now by 3.
Luka should have ran all the way to the backcourt.
It's into Luka.
Catching it right here is the worst spot you can catch it, knowing the double's going to come. And this goes back to earlier when I was talking about how he dribbled all the way out to the corner, and essentially your pass down the sideline is limited. It's not as open as it looks. This guy right here, I think that's Barnes. I'm not sure. Barnes is essentially covering Powell and Finney-Smith at the same time.
He's doubled.
And now Dinwiddie should have stayed out over there, although he's behind Luka. Luka can't see him. But now this guy can essentially cover Dinwiddie and Powell at the same time as well. You see, this is just horrible spacing. And again, the middle of the floor is wide open. I know this is a hard place for Luka to see that, but Powell should have stayed home. Again, you got to space. Whenever two guys are doubling someone like that, the best thing you can do is to remain spaced. Once you, as an offense, if you're not spaced, you allow those 3 guys to cover 4 guys simply because you are not spaced out enough.
You can take a timeout. Ends up throwing the ball out of bounds off a Raptors player. Mavericks.
So again, Luka should have just ran into the backcourt on that one, in my opinion. He got himself stuck in the corner there, which was not smart.
Do have 2 timeouts.
Yeah, I thought they would take one right there, Locke.
Kid take a timeout? Come on now, Harper. You know Kid ain't gonna take a timeout.
And you're almost quadruple.
Kid is diamond hands when it comes to his timeouts.
Yeah. 2 defenders, sideline.
See, just like that. That's what he should have done that last inbounds play.
They go into the backcourt, and there's a foul. Anunoby, the league leader in steals, going after the candy. That's where he goes. Anunoby around Dinwiddie, easy basket with 11.9.
Not sure what happened there, but that was way too easy.
Ball into Luka. Luka trapped in the backcourt, up to Finney-Smith. Finney-Smith into the front court. Finney-Smith draws the defense, over to Dinwiddie, back to Kleba. Dinwiddie is finally fouled with 3 seconds left. The Mavericks chewed up.
You know, I noticed this in the Brooklyn game too. Like there was a couple times there late on one possession where Durant tried to foul Luka, like to get them to call the foul late to have him shoot free throws or what have you. And the same thing here, the guy tried to foul him and they didn't call it. They need to be careful with that because you do that too many times, guys are going to start really fouling and someone's going to get hurt. You know, you think about a star like Luka. If he goes, okay, well, they didn't call that last one. Now I really got to foul Luka and Luka gets hurt or something. I mean, that's just a stupid way to have someone hurt. I think they need to be a little more liberal with the whistle in this particular situation. That when it's obvious guys are trying to foul. The thing is also, like, players are aware. I always hated, or at least I never really liked, trying to intentionally foul someone just because you're always trying to find that sweet spot of like, hey, we all know what I'm trying to do, but also I don't want to just foul the shit out of you, you know, to get the call. And so I think the refs need to be a little more aware of the situation and understand what the defense is trying to do. And probably just call the whistle there. And again, someone's going to get hurt or it's going to get real ticky-tacky real quick or the guys are going to get real chippy. That's the word I was looking for. They're going to get real chippy and it could, you know, become something it doesn't need to become. They wasted a lot of time on the clock. I think that's essentially the game right there. Yeah, so that's game. They hit a 3 there at the end. All right, that was my film room on the Toronto game and a little bit of the Brooklyn game. So, kid, you have my contact info. Just hit me up. I know you're looking for a scout or someone to break down film. I'm always available. So, see you guys on the next one. I will probably it's almost 4 p.m. Probably gonna go ahead and stream the Orlando game. Maybe not. I need to get this Kobe video out, so I might have to skip the Orlando game to